تذكر يوما كنت تعانق دمعة الفكر تناجي الله في صبر وترجو رحمة تسري فعاش القلب إخلاصا وصرت تحوم كالطير تحلق في ثقافات وتنهل من ربى الخير ترى ما زلت تذكرها وتذكر روعة الذكر فيهدي القلب ألحانا شذاها.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد، رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. رب زدني علما. Inshallah, tonight is our usual weekly Tafseer course, as we usually do it on Sunday, alhamdulillah. And we find that it really helps us to learn more about the glorious Quran. And the series in which we are in this course of Tafseer course, there's a series we are going on, and it is called Who Wrote the Quran? Who Wrote the Quran? The lesson is number 19. Lesson is number 19, and the part, we are in part 7. We are in part 7, but now part 7 we have talked about already. We have talked about part 7a, part 7b, part 7c, part 7d, and now we are in part 7e. Part 7e. Now inshallah, tonight our topic it is called, did Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam write the Quran? Did Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam write the Quran as he had epilepsy? As he had epilepsy. Astaghfirullah wa atubu ilaik. First of all, we say that because we find that this is something that has been attributed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is completely wrong. And a'udhu billah, we should not be saying it even in our mouth. It is wrong, but I find that we need to teach these people about it bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. First of all, we want to define what is epilepsy. And when you go to dictionary, they say that this epilepsy, it is a noun, and it is a neurological disorder which is marked by the sudden recurrent episodes of sensory disturbance, loss of consciousness, or convulsions associated with abnormal electrical activity in the brain. In a small mark, or in a summary, it is a disorder in which it happens to the brain, and it leads to people do something. You can say like you are having a loss of your memory, the loss of your consciousness. You don't have consciousness, and something like that. And they usually attribute it to people who you find that, they may be talking themselves, or they may be doing something which is not in accordance to the way of life at that time. And you find that there is something new that they're doing, which it was not happening, but they're doing it. So it is an abnormal disorder, we can say that. And these people who are calling them the disbelievers, the kuffar, they have attributed it to the Prophet ﷺ, which is absolutely wrong. And let us explain why why we find that it is wrong. I want to explain, as we mentioned, from the Quran and from the Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and also from our own perspective here, as we are going to use. Now, other people who you find that they reject the prophethood of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they agree because of the historical evidence of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, impeccable character and truthfulness, that he will not have deliberately fabricated the Quran and his prophethood. So they allege for some reason that he either had epilepsy or was delusional, and actually believed that he was a prophet. And as we mentioned, is that our work here, it is to explain it. Now you find that people who are rejecting that prophethood of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they agree that he had that disorder. They agree like that. But you find that when you see the historical evidence of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we find that even before the Quran was revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was something in him which was an impeccable character, and there was truthfulness in him. And this points out the fact that he was not having an epilepsy. Because of the fact that he was truthful, and because of the fact that he was having a very good character, we say and we put the fact that he did not propagate the Quran, because of the fact that he was truthful. So even the people who were with the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they agreed that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was a truthful person. They agree that he was a truthful person. That is very much important. They also agree that he has a very good character. He had a good character. But the people who have come now, they have come now to allege that he had epilepsy or some delusional, which you find that it is absolutely wrong. Now firstly, again, we are going to explain it, keeping in mind that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is perhaps the history most well documented man, and there is absolutely no evidence from his life to support this claim, and all evidence they suggest that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he lived a normal and a sane life all the way up to his death at the age of 63. However, in spite of that, we will nonetheless prove that this claim, it is false and malicious. Okay? As we have to know that number two, now secondly, even some Orientalists, that is the non-Muslims, who have achieved considerable status as the authorities on Islam, themselves they have rejected these claims of epilepsy as false and ridiculous. As I say that Daniel, he commented on the claim of epilepsy, and he said that epilepsy, as it is applied to the Prophet, was the explanation of those who sought to amuse others, who sought to amuse rather than to instruct. Okay? And this is in the book which is called The Sublime Quran and Orientalism, page 13. So we find that Daniel, he commented on that claim of epilepsy, and he said that epilepsy, when it is applied to the Prophet, it was the explanation of those who sought to amuse. They were just trying to make other people to laugh. They attributed this thing, epilepsy, even to other prophets, not only to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but they attributed it to other prophets, and this is absolutely wrong. And this is happening even in our current situation. As I just saw a video in the YouTube that there was someone who was in Canada, and I heard as he did was that he was trying to provoke the Muslim men. Sorry, the Muslim, yeah. Now, how did he provoke the Muslim? Is by tearing up the glorious Quran. And we have to talk on about this, because of the fact that these people who are non-believers, they are trying to provoke now the Muslims, and this leads now to what is called, to the groups like are called Al-Shabaab and the ISIS and the others, which we find that it is not the problem of the Muslim themselves, but it is the problem which are coming from the kuffar, from the disbelievers. They're the ones who are provoking it. And that is why the other group are coming at, because they want to fight now those non-believers. They have been created now which is called a hatred amongst themselves. There's a hatred that is created among the Muslims of the fact that these, and because of this now it is affecting our youth. The youth now, they become very much closer to this ISIS and Al-Shabaab and Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. Why? It is because of the fact that the people there who are the non-believers in Canada and I don't know where places, they're the one who are provoking our Muslims youth. Now look at what are they saying to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Come, wake up and try to do something. So really this is not something that we have come here to explain. But if I want to explain to you people that when these non-believers they do something like that, please let us try to follow the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he taught us that we should not become an angry person. An angry person, he will become very much far from the hellfire. As for the fact that it will not become easy for him to enter into paradise. Why? Because when you become an angry person, you may even eventually kill an innocent person. You might eventually kill an innocent person. You may eventually say something which will become even something on the day of judgment that may lead to you on the hellfire. Maybe you abuse that person, or maybe you say something that really makes that person to hate you. So this is the reason why we should not become angry, and that's why that was the way the Prophet ﷺ taught us. Now in such a situation, as we can see that they had put the Quran and they are tear up the Quran, what do? We just go and pick up those papers now they have put down, and we say that because of the fact that you have done this inhuman thing, I'll just say to you, may Allah Azza Jal guide you, and may Allah Azza Jal help you to become a Muslim. Because of the fact that you are doing this, I fear that you may go to hellfire. I fear that you may go to hellfire, but me as being the brother to you in humanity, I just pray for you that may Allah Azza Jal guide you, and may Allah Azza Jal make you a person who is steadfast on Islam. So I'll just say, may Allah Azza Jal guide you. That's all. You just pick up the papers, just take the Quran, give me the Quran, because you don't know how to respect that Quran. Give me that Quran and let me take it. Let me take it. And you'll tell to him that Jazakallah khair. And this is something that really will impact maybe that person who had turned up the Quran. Maybe it will make him to know that Islam, it is about peace. It is not about provoking others and making others, to create groups that may lead to something wrong. So let us, as I say, let us stay away from, the other groups like Al-Shabaab and the ISIS and that, because you may find that these groups, there may be good in them, but let us not be involved with them. Let us even not talk about this topic, the topic of ISIS, and I don't want to talk about this topic. But the topic here, as you can see that here, a non-Muslim, he is saying that, this thing, it is just because of the fact that they want to amuse others, and it's not to instruct them. It is not just to, when they attribute this epilepsy to a prophet, it is now just to provoke others. It is to make others now to create these groups so that they can do something to. They want to just destroy what we can call peace. They want to destroy peace. That is not the work of the non-believers. I'm sorry to say. Because the non-believer, this Daniel, he is a person who is a non-Muslim, and he is saying it. So it's not me, it is Daniel who has said it. He has said that epilepsy, as applied by the Prophet, was the explanation of those who sought to amuse rather than to instruct. So it is just to provoke the Muslims, or it was just to make them, to destroy the peace of the Muslims. But it's not to instruct. It was just to make the non-believers happy. It was just to make the non-believers happy. Okay? Then we have a next person who is called John Davenport, and he said that this remark that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he has suffered the attack of epilepsy, is one of the false, awkward sayings of the Greeks, by which they meant to stain the prestige of the propagator of a new religion and turn the world of Christianity against his moral behavior and qualities. This is in Udhri Tafseer, page 20. Now, I don't agree some few points by John Davenport, as you may find that he is saying that that remark that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has suffered the attacks of epilepsy, it is one of the false awkward saying of the Greeks. So this is, I can say, it's correct, because when you say that, it is a false awkward saying of the Greeks. So it is correct that these Greeks who are saying that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was epilepsy, a'udhu billah, it is an awkward saying, and it is a false accusation on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He went on and saying that they wanted to stain the prestige of the propagator of a new religion. Now this I can say that it is true for the fact that that these Greek people, they wanted to stain the prestige of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but it was not a new religion. This Islam, it has been there since time immemorial, since man stepped foot on earth. That was Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. When Adam alayhi salatu wasalam was there, Islam was there. But you find that that name Islam, it was not available there at that time. But the meaning of it was there. When you come to know the meaning of Islam, you find that Islam as you mean to come to fact that this is submission to Allah Azza wa Jal. It is peace even there in Islam still. There is obedience there in Islam. There is a lot of things in Islam. But the most important thing, it is to submit your will towards Allah Azza wa Jal. And Adam alayhi salam submitted his will to Allah Azza wa Jal. And also other prophets did. But that word Islam was not there. But the Islam word, it came slowly by slowly. Even at the time of Abraham alayhi salam, started to come. And tend to come up that word of Islam. Okay? But you find that Islam has been there. So it's not a new religion. He went on, John Davenport, and he said that, and turned the world of Christianity against its moral behavior and qualities. This is again wrong. Because you find that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he didn't come. Let me just say here that they Greek people, they are meant here. He was saying that Greek people, they wanted to stain the prestige of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also they wanted to turn the world of Christianity against his moral behavior and qualities. So I agree also with that one. This is very much important. The Greek people, they wanted to do two things. They attributed this word epilepsy to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a'udhu billah, because number one, they wanted to stain Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Number two, they wanted to turn that world of Christianity against the moral behavior of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and also the quality of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They wanted to turn the Christianity against the Muslims in a whole like that. That was why the Greek, they attributed this word to our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that is now what John Davenport is saying. So there are various types of epilepsy, and the main ones being grand mal, petit mal, and we have psychomotor. So we have three mentioned here: grand mal, number two is petit mal, and number three is psychomotor. So these are the types of epilepsy. Now we are going to explain the types of epilepsy. Grand mal, it includes generalized convulsions in which there is sudden unconsciousness with falling and shaking of the limbs. Sometimes the person, he screams just before the seizure, and it is followed by stiffening and halted respiration. Next come jerky moves, and one can bite one's tongue, and the person experiences a headache, and afterwards they have no recollection of what happened. So that is grand mal. Now when Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he received that revelation, it was described like the ringing of a bell. While other times the angel Jibril alayhi salam, he came to him in the form of a man and deliver that message directly. And when one compares grand mal to the description of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam receiving the revelation, it is obvious that he did not suffer from grand mal. So what we're saying here that grand mal, as you can see that I've mentioned here, that there is something which is called unconsciousness that is usually happening with the falling, and there's a shocking, there's a shaking of the limbs. You find someone now, he shakes his limbs, and there's a shaking also of he falls down every time, and this is of the fact that it happens in grand mal. Another thing is that the person, he usually screams before that seizure it happens, and it is followed by stiffening and the halted respiration, so it becomes very much breathing problems with that person. And also this person, he has biting his tongue. He usually bites his tongue, and also that person, he usually have headache, a lot of headache, and they usually don't have a lot of recollection, or the memory losses happens to him, to the person who has grand mal. Grand mal is a type of epilepsy, as we have mentioned. So, as we mentioned here, that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we find that he usually, when he had received the revelation, as we mentioned here, that there was a ringing of a bell. It was described as like the ringing of a bell. And while other times, as you can see, that Angel Jibril alayhi salam is the one who was given the responsibility of giving that message, or giving that revelation to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Angel Jibril alayhi salam came to him in the form maybe of a man, or maybe of another form also, and delivered that message directly. And when he compares that grand mal to the description of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam receiving the revelation, we find that it is obvious that he did not suffer from that sickness of grand mal. So at least we have proved that Rasulullah sallam was not suffering from grand mal. Let us see petit mal. Petit mal. Okay, a petit mal, it involves momentary lapses of awareness, and more than 70% of the patients, they have their first attack before the age of 20. And it involves no involuntary movement, and it can happen several times in a day without interruption of consciousness. And these two, you find that it is in opposition. It is in opposition to the description of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam receiving that revelation. Now, firstly, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was 40 years old, when he began to receive that revelation, and each time he received revelation, it was for several minutes, and it was not moments. Okay, that is why you are saying that petit mal, it did not happen to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So let me explain it in a little more detail. Petit mal, when you find that a person, if you see he has petit mal, here he has momentary lapses of awareness, and it is usually more than 70% of the patients, they have this first attack before the age of 20. And here Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was 40 years old, it was at that time he began to receive revelation, and this petit mal, it has the first attack before the age of 20. So it makes it that petit mal, it was not happening to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we have also refuted this petit mal. Now there is also some other things that happens with the patients of petit mal, and that is they don't have. It involves no involuntary movements. No involuntary movement. That means they don't have any will. They cannot move. They are like, they are stiffened, and it happens several times in a day for that person, without interruption of that consciousness of they have, without interruption of their being a person who is of good mind. of consciousness. So what you're saying here is that this person, he cannot move at his free will. The person who has petit mal. And it happens very many times in a day. And he does not become unconscious. He does not become unconscious very much time. Also this is in opposition to the description of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam receiving the revelation. So again we have refuted that one. Now let us go to psychomotor. What is psychomotor? Now psychomotor, we find that psychomotor seizures, they involve convulsions. And what is convulsions? So convulsion here, as we find that it is the involuntary contraction of the muscles producing now the contortion of the body or limbs. And this happens when you find that this person is shaking violently, very much. He is shaking violently, and he is in an agitated state. So you find that that is convulsion. So that is what psychomotor, it seizures, it involves that very much of shaking. And is shaking also of the muscle and something like that. So they last only a few seconds, and they are accompanied with screams and mumbles, which you find that they do not make words and sentences, and much less entire chapters of a book, which are not only completely understandable, but of the highest eloquence. So you may find that this person is talking in a very good eloquent, but that word he is talking on about, it is not even explainable. We cannot put that words into good sentences. Like, he may say that I may do not is to come not, but he's an eloquent person. He will be talking in an eloquent way. He will be just saying, I know what is come do. So he's talking in an eloquent way, but you find that this person, he is not able, we cannot understand that person, what he is mumbling. Okay? And there's also screams that is happening. Okay? Within the few seconds, there are accompanied scream. So it happens to such a person. So epilepsy now, it takes controls of one's thought during that seizures. And yet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was in complete control during the revelation, and he was able to recall the event in detail, unlike the one who would have an epileptic seizure. So when you see these above facts, one, he must ask, how could Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam unconsciously know about the previous nations? Question for you. How could he unconsciously answer the question people asked him and be so correct? Another question for you. So no one ever stood up to claim that they too, they are familiar with these stories. So again, these facts, when you try to ask yourself, how could he know about the future events which will later come to pass? How could he have known that the Persians and the Romans, they will go to war, and who will win the war years in advance? A question for you again. So how could he know all of these things? And when you come here and you attribute that he has epilepsy, if he had epilepsy, he could not have answered that questions. He could not have made prediction of the future events. He could not make he could not know who will win among the Persians and Romans. He could not make even any signs of the day of judgment. But even you find that if he had epilepsy, he could not answer questions of the human beings, of his companions, that is. So how could he answer this question and be so correct? That's a question for you. Please answer them. So those people who are attributing this to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they should ask this question to themselves. So therefore, when you find that these facts, when we are examining them, the epileptic seizures theories, they cannot only be easily ruled out as absurd, but we can only conclude that this claim, it is made out of outright maliciousness, because the evidence, it is overwhelmingly against them. If you see these all evidences, they are against them. This evidence that I've mentioned here, it is against the fact that Muhammad ﷺ had epilepsy. Okay, so this evidence, it says to us that Muhammad ﷺ did not have any disease like epilepsy. Okay, that is very much important for us to understand. Norman Daniel, when he commenting on the slanders that are made against Muhammad ﷺ, he said in his book, which is called Islam on the West, page 267, he said that all writers, referring to the Western writers, they tended more or less to cling to fantastic tales about Islam and its prophet. The use of false evidence to attack Islam was all, but it was universal. So he is saying that these writers, especially when talking about the Western writers, they were tending and they are clinging to very much fantastic tales about Islam and its prophet, and they try to use false evidence to attack Islam. They try to even attack Islam as a whole, not Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, but as a whole, as universal. Okay. And Daniel, he also goes on to explain that at the worst, there was the assertion of the fantastic and its repetition without discrimination. At the best, there was the selection of only those facts that served the purpose of controversy. So, for the fact that he is saying that, you can go to page 268 to see that. When you find that Daniel, he is explaining here that many of these things that the people, they were writing, or they were putting slanders against the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they are doing this because they are discriminating Islam, not the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but discriminating Islam. And these all facts that they were putting, the Western writers, it was to just create controversy. It was just to create controversy. News, you see media like that. So nonetheless, we find that the material gain, the desire for power, the desire to unify the Arabs, and ever having had epilepsy, they are all easily ruled out when any unbiased, you find that audience or reader of the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, he will not find any of these things being in the life of the Prophet ﷺ. He didn't write the Quran. He didn't write the Quran for material gain. He didn't write the Quran for power. He didn't write the Quran to unify the Arabs. He didn't write the Quran because he had epilepsy. So these all, they are wrong. This all that they have attributed to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, they are wrong. And you find that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he did not write the Quran for material gain. He did not write the Quran for power. He did not write the Quran to unify the Arabs. And he did not write the Quran because he had epilepsy. So I finished by saying that inshallah, the next session now, inshallah, we will be talking about the second claim. Okay? As we know, we have been talking on about the first claim, which was Muhammad ﷺ wrote the Quran. And here we talked about, we talked about, did he write the Quran for material gain? Did he write the Quran to unite the Arabs? And number 3, did he write the Quran because he had epilepsy? So we have explained all these 3. So that was only in the first claim that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wrote the Quran. He wrote the Quran. Now we will be going, inshallah, the next session. We will be talking about second claim. It is someone other than Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wrote the Quran, and we are going to see also how did they say about that claim, and inshallah also we will be talking about the third claim and all others. So we will be finishing this session by saying Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وترجو رحمة تسري فعاش القلب إخلاصا وصرت تحوم كالطير تحلق في ثقافات وتنهل من ربى الخير ترى ما زلت تذكرها وتذكر روعة الذكر فيهدي القلب ألحانا شذاها يفوح بالصدر ويصفو العلم راقراقا ويسقي دوحة العمر فيمحو الكون ظل